Hi, I'm Bill Bradley. Join me for a recent excerpt of American Voices. Here in American Voices, we celebrate all this country has to offer. So after hearing about people's life stories, we also want to celebrate the land. So each week, we invite authors and artists to talk about a favorite place or sound in the country. This time we hear from Nikki Corbett. She's the author of the Yupik Alphabet Coloring Book. Here's Nikki Corbett on her favorite place.
Hi, Waka. This is Nikki. One of my favorite places here in Alaska, where I have been born and raised, is my steam bath. My steam bath in Yupik translates to maqivik. Maqivik is a sauna. Maqiwiks are a part of our Yupik culture. It's a part of who we are as Yupik people. It's a part of a lot of Alaska Native cultures. Our ancestors have been maqiing for generations. And so it's just something that I'm just really thankful that I can still continue to carry on. And it's not only just a place to wash, but it's also just a place to relieve all your fears and your everything, and it's sort of a place of healing. It's also a place of connection because we don't maqi alone. Usually we maqi with our family, our aunties, our grandmothers, our sisters, our cousins, and it's just a place that we kind of come together and just enjoy the heat and sweat it out after about 2 hours. And then we will sit there and wash. And my favorite thing about washing is to wash with cold rainwater. And in my steam bath, I like to at least have it be 250 degrees Fahrenheit before we start splashing water on the rocks. In the sauna, in the maqivik, we are in the maqivik for about 2 hours. Now, we're not in the hot room for 2 hours, but what we do in a maqivik, there are two sections. There's the cold room and the hot room. And so when you're ready, you go in the hot room, you sit there for a brief moment in time, and then you'll take your ladle and you'll splash water on the rocks. And the rocks are volcanic rocks. You want them to have holes so that they're porous and you can splash better through them. And you'll pour anywhere from 2 to 4 splashes on the stove. And it'll just sizzle and it gets so hot in there. And after, you can't handle the heat, you run out of the hot room and you sit in the cool room until you completely cool down. And then you do that over and over and over again until you're ready to sit there and wash. Maqiwiks traditionally used to be made out of sod huts, maqivik, and so they used to wash in the sod huts. And over time and the development of being able to purchase lumber, mine is a larger sauna. And so my sauna is a little bit more westernized, where I have a front door to go into the cold room, and I've got a deck on mine. Traditionally, they're much shorter and they're built closer to the ground. And the stove is made out of 55-gallon drum, and that's usually on the ground. And in my sauna, it is about, I believe it's a 12 by 16 building, and I've got 2 windows in my steam bath, which is not normal. And so they can be made any way that the person wants them to. They're similar to saunas, but in the maqiwiks, you can actually splash water on the rocks and it won't damage the stove because the stoves are made out of 55-gallon drums. And so over time, they have gotten more evolved and much more fancier. But some people still use the traditional style, which are, the much shorter, and the wood stove on the ground. And in traditional maqiwiks, you sit on the floor. And so they're just any way that you want to make them. So maqivik saunas, I think with the introduction of cold plunges and the introduction of going to hot and cold, as Yupik people and Alaska Native people, we've been using steam baths for a very long time. And so there's so many different health benefits to using a maqivik. Just the heat is so good for your muscles, everything. And then, of course, going back and forth between the hot and the cold. The circulation is going back and it's moving through. And so just, moving back and forth between the hot and cold is so good for you. And then, of course, washing with cold water, it's like being in a cold plunge itself. And not only the health benefits, but also if you have ever taken a steam bath, you can never feel that clean ever again. No matter how many showers you take, you will never feel maqi clean again. And so there's a different sort of cleansing to your body that you feel where just all of your dead skin just comes off. And, just being able to be in there, it's just so healing and it's just, you're able to just sort of relax. And it's just such a wonderful thing to be able to have access to. Some places where I've taken maqiwiks when I've had access to run into a river or an ocean, in between splashes, we'll run out into the river or the ocean, and then we'll come back into the steam. Or in the wintertime, if there's nobody around outside, we'll come out of the steam bath and we'll lay in the snow. So you just go outside, lay in the snow, and then you get right back up and you go back into the hot room.
That was Nikki Corbett. She's the author of the Yupik Alphabet Coloring Book.
Lose yourself in nature and find peace. Lose yourself in nature and find peace. Troubles will come, troubles will release. Lose yourself in nature and find peace. Lose yourself in nature and find peace. Lose yourself in nature and find peace. Troubles will come, troubles will release. Lose yourself in nature and find peace. In love, be happy.
Thank you for listening to American Voices here on my YouTube channel. For more interviews celebrating the goodness and creativity of the American people, click the subscribe button below.